So in this lesson, we're talking about server errors. And that's basically, we talk about the 500 status code range. And this is usually a server-side error. This is an internal server error and a generic error message that's given when something unexpectedly has gone wrong or has happened in a way that you didn't plan for. Another one is a 503, which means server is not available. That happens when the service is currently unavailable, for example, because of the fact that of maintenance of the server, or if it's generally overloaded. It should be temporary though. Let's talk about maintenance and why this is such a big thing and a big deal from an SEO perspective. So what can happen is that your site has been indexed and everything was going well, but then all of a sudden you need to go into a maintenance mode. You might need to update something, or you need to change your server infrastructure. Accordingly, the content which you are currently ranked for is not really accessible during this period. Unfortunately, maintenance work can't always be avoided. So in addition to kind of common considerations like when does it cause the least disruption for your users, or what's with employee availability at the time, for example during night, etc., etc. There are also some SEO concerns to keep in mind. While the site can't be accessed, the HTTP 503 status code, which means the service is not available, must always be used. However, the following solutions are not really practical. So I've seen sites using the HTTP status code 200 while they were actually currently under maintenance. That means that for Google, everything is supposed to be all right. So what will happen when you serve a very limited amount of totally different content during that time is that they will actually rank you with your under maintenance message. Also, you must not block the crawler using robots text and other kind of meta robots directives such as noindex. Do also not redirect requests to kind of a temporary URL or a domain or hosting this kind of currently under maintenance sites. So all of those scenarios will cause a massive loss in rankings. Make sure that if a URL or the full server is not available for any reason, you respond with the HTTP 503 status code. In this case, Google responds by saying like, well, okay, this service is currently not available, so we'll just come back later and try again. But in the meantime, we'll do nothing really, and we especially do not recalculate rankings based on something under maintenance or under maintenance messages for that matter. What you also can do is to combine a 503 status code with a retry-after header. The definition of the 503 status code says, well, the server is currently unavailable to handle the request due to a temporary overloading or the maintenance of the server. And then if known the length of the delay, that may be indicated with the retry-after header. So if no retry-after header is given, the client should just handle the response as it would do for a regular 500 response. So if that your maintenance work is, for example, going to last for an hour, then you would add the retry-after header with 3600 as a value. That will mean that the crawler who just hit the 503 will understand to come back after an hour, and that there is no reason to come back before that time frame has actually passed. Google respects that. Multiple crawlers sometimes are visiting one single domain. They won't obviously all stop immediately, but still, it takes quite a bit of load off the server. The more direct way to stop crawling entirely when you are completely overloaded will be to use a HTTP 503 for your robots text file. So the moment Google hits a robots text and this file returns a 503, it actually stops crawling entirely until they can fetch that robots text file once again. To see if any pages of your website return a 500 error code or from the 500 error range, you'll want to use the appropriate checks under the Issues tab of the SEMrush Site Audit tool.